I am Lawrence Chuno, and this is Doing Jazz. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Jazz. My name is Lawrence Chuno, and this episode is with drummer and composer Jonathan Barber. Jonathan Barber has an extensive musical resume that includes having played with household musical names like Erykah Badu and acclaimed jazz artists like Kurt Erling and Jeremy Pelt, just to mention a couple. On his debut album Vision Ahead, Jonathan Barber delivers some very well executed original compositions. These songs have introspective origins and help shape the current path of his musical group, also called Vision Ahead. The song playing in the background is the title track, Vision Ahead. During my conversation with Jonathan, you'll hear the songs Gone Away, Carry On, and Mr. JB. Towards the end of the conversation, you'll hear the song Airport. These songs are all from the album Vision Ahead. After listening to this episode, you can learn more about Jonathan Barber by going to the website of the show, www.doingjazz.net. And you can listen to more episodes of Doing Jazz by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, and any of the available podcast vendors. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I present Jonathan Barber. In your face. All right, Okay, let's do this. Jonathan Barber.
Yes.
Welcome to Doing Jazz.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I've been chatting with you for a while now. We just came in, and I started thinking back. I think I remember where I met you the first time. Yes, I was at Alicia Latuja's gig, her show at Birdland.
Yes.
And you were the drummer.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
And I think once I was the place where I sat, you were the main person I could see. You were the main person that was right in front of me. So I was watching you throughout. So I focused mainly on you. Yeah. And when you came out, I stopped you and I was like, really good job. I don't know if you remember.
Vaguely,
yeah. Vaguely.
I mean, I remember the gig, but because we did a week there.
Yes. So there's no way. I think I came on the last day, the first show of the last day.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And I had on the podcast, and I told her about that. I told her, yeah, I really dig your drummer.
Oh, cool.
So thinking about that, and I've had other people on this podcast that I looked at their records and I saw your name on it also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Connection.
Yeah, so it's a small world.
It is.
Yeah.
Totally.
So you've played with Alicia Latuja, and you
Yes.
play with a lot of other amazing big names. You've played with Erykah Badu that I can remember from reading about you. You've played with Kurt Erling. Who are the other people you've played with?
Oh,
Some
man.
other people
I've played with Wallace Roney, Jeremy Pelt, Renee McLean, Jimmy Green, Terrace Martin, Marcus Strickland, Nicholas Payton. There's a lot of
a few of them.
a few.
That's a few names. That's a lot of names.
Yeah.
Is there any experience, any person that you've played with, any project you've worked on that you think you gained a lot from, that you have an experience you want to share? It doesn't mean that the others don't make sense, but that's an experience that stands out.
I mean, I've really gained so much from a lot of them, but I guess I'll start in the beginning. When after I graduated college at the University of Hartford.
When was this?
This was I graduated 2011.
Okay.
And I was one of the first big names artists that I performed with was Wallace Roney. Which was pretty much Miles Davis' protege, who he knew Miles and had a great relationship with. So, and with that being said, he was also in Tony Williams' band, which is one of my favorite drummers. So to be in that chair, that drum chair, at 21 years old, was like, man, like just the connection of the lineage of this music. So you have Miles Davis, and then basically his protege Wallace Roney, and he has a band, and then I'm playing with him. So it's just like it's all connected, like you said, like it's a small world. So I definitely just learned a lot from that, and then also I'll say with trumpeter Jeremy Pelt, who he's the first person that took me on the road to Europe. And then ever since then of 2011, I've been going to Europe at least twice a year.
Nice.
And just build a love for traveling and things like that. So in the beginning, I'll say those two, there was like a great foundation of playing this music and knowing that I can do this for a living, and there's so much to see. This world has a lot to offer, and the fact that I'm a musician, I have that privilege of actually, seeing the world.
Yes, and it turns out that when you travel and when you start playing music as a practitioner and not just a student, you realize that there are a lot of things you learn that
totally
you there's no way you could have learned in school. You start learning a whole lot.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to be in school, and I find like school is like the laboratory, and you can try things out, and some stuff works and some stuff doesn't, and it really doesn't matter because you're in school, but when you're on the road and or you're on stage and you're in front of people, and like the lights are on you and it's time to deliver and perform, you figure things out really quick. And knowing that, like, you have to make a living and provide for yourself and have a survival mentality, you really learn things quick. So it's a good ride though.
Nice. Yes, I see that. Let's talk about your CD, your album.
Yes. Vision Ahead.
It's called Vision Ahead.
Yes.
I'll just let you talk about it.
Okay. Well, Vision Ahead is the name of my record and also the name of my band. It's definitely my brand.
Okay.
And I'll say, it started.
This is your first album.
Yeah, my debut. Yep. But in terms of the band, it started, about 6 years ago. Okay. Again, at the University of Hartford, the Hart School of Music, because myself, pianist Taylor Gable, guitarist Andrew Renfro, and bassist Matt DeWanzik, and myself, we all went to Hart together, undergrad. So we really developed a friendship and a musical bond and a chemistry, and just watch each other grow as people and musicians. And we played a lot together, and we moved to New York together.
Okay.
And so I kind of had this band, and then once I moved to New York, I was like hearing another color, another sound, and so I added Godwin Louis, who's from Connecticut. So this is kind of like a Connecticut-based band,
Nice. What does he play?
Alto saxophone.
Okay.
Amazing alto saxophonist. So then that formed the band. So I just really didn't have a name at the time. You know, it was kind of like the Jonathan Barber Quintet, and I really wanted to avoid that. So I was kind of sitting and pondering on that, but the sound was there, the band was there, and we were, you know, performing and working. So fast forward to 2 years ago, 2016 in November, I lost my brother, my one and only brother. You know, very young, and it was a sudden passing.
Oh.
And so I kind of took some time off the scene, and I went to be with his wife and his two kids. And so in that moment, you know, the obvious stuff as far as, you know, grief and confusion and anger, sadness. But then, you know, like you really begin to put things into perspective of like, you know, what you're doing, like while I'm still here, like what is my purpose and what am I supposed to be doing, and am I executing that effectively, and what's some of the things that I can do better and put into the next gear. And so the family was in Virginia, so I was in Virginia, and it was just like a light bulb that just went off, that just like the words vision ahead just came to me. And I was like, you know what, that's it. Like that was a two words I just held on to dearly, you know, and it's basically, you know, saying that we all have a passion and a desire, and we all have a vision, and we can't get distracted by that. You know, and it's important to keep your vision in front of you, and you know, as they say, keep your eyes on the prize. And so I was like, vision ahead, that's it. That's like, you know, the mission statement, that's the name of the band, and blah blah blah. So of January 2017, I made it like my goal of like, okay, I'm gonna record some music, because I've been feeling that, and I kind of wanted more for myself and more for my band, but I just didn't really know. But not at that time, it felt right. It's like, okay, now it's time to go ahead and pursue this record. And so from that year, I was, you know, really writing a lot of music. And I wrote 2 songs before the incident, but then after that, man, a lot of music and lyrics was coming to me. And it's really personal to me, but then it's also, you know, a push forward, you know, to continue on. And that's what it's about, you know. And then on a musical level, it's about, you know, pushing things forward and carrying on. And we all have our influences, and, you know, we all are inspired by, you know, past events and things like that, and artists and music and styles. But you know, being that it's 2018, I think it's necessary that my generation, I think it's time for us to kind of stand up and kind of say our voice and say our piece, and kind of put our fingerprint into history. You know, and I think that's what this band is really capable of doing, and I think that's what we're doing. You know, as far as being in our late 20s, and, you know, being a band and having a sound, and you know, like displaying chemistry and teamwork, you know, and unity. I think is definitely special.
Oh, that's nicely said. I was going to ask you a few questions, but your explanations just answered themselves. I was going to ask you about how you chose the names, because the names reflect what you just said. Like the first track is called Statement of Vision.
Yes.
Then second, Vision Ahead.
Yes.
Doubt. The Covenant. Think of these things. Carry On. Carry On, which is a song I really like.
Oh, awesome.
Airport, Crown, Gone Away, Mr. JB, where Mr. JB, you just threw in everything.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Time
Man.
Will Tell, Believing in the Reunion. So when I was listening to the album, I've listened to it at least 3 times. I tried to do that.
Oh, cool, man.
Like we're talking about how people put out singles, but you still believe in the album, the storytelling, and I really do I believe in that too. So when
Mm-hmm.
I got the album, I took my time. I listened like 3 times. The third time you came in, and
Awesome.
yeah, and I felt that story.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of my other question was gonna be: has there been a live event that has influenced your musicianship? But it turns out that, I mean, your explanation has just
Yeah, yeah.
made killed all those questions for me, which, which is like a
What is
good
it?
thing. Yeah. So let's talk about the technicalities
Yes.
involved in this on this project. The composition is out there. It's like fearless and
Mm-hmm.
very bold, and shows somebody who understands this music, who
Yeah.
understands jazz, not just in the traditional sense, but
Mm-hmm.
in the modern sense,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
who is just not academic about it, but
Oh
who
yeah, yeah.
brings every experience, like every musical experience that he has into it. I, g- I know you touched on the composition process, but I
Mm-hmm.
just want to know, especially as a drummer who
Mm-hmm.
plays rhythm,
Yep.
how did you how did this come about? You There are like 12 songs.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you want to say about your process in making these songs?
Yeah. Well, I have to give a pat on the back to myself that
Okay,
I wrote 8 of those 12 tracks.
nice.
And so I stand to tell the world that drummers can write music too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you kind of get the rap, like, hey man, just play a beat, and yeah, like that's it. But it's like, no, we can write. But on a composition level, and we talked about this earlier, is I'm really into section writing.
Okay.
You know, as far as just kind of like tell a story. You know, rise and fall, tension and release, and on an improvisational level, I try to definitely highlight each member of my band in in a different light from one another.
Oh,
So you know, like you said in like Mr. JB,
yeah.
or like basically like every song, like everybody's soloing over a different part,
Yeah.
and you know, it kind of gives them to really shine on their idea, and add a different color and different mood, and also keep the listener attentive, and also try to engage, you know, the listener, because a lot of times, you know, you can sometimes in this music you can just like zone out, and that's a vibe too. But you know, I definitely want to lock the listener in as if they're like watching a movie. You know, there's different scenes, and there's different parts where it's really intense, and there's parts that's really, you know, soft and intimate, and there's parts where, you know, you can vibe out, and you know, I will say I try to write emotional, like, you know, really emotionally. And so I think I, you know, did a good job at capturing that, and also from one song to another, I was really conscious of that, as far as the, you know, the moment you put the CD in, or you
Yeah.
play it on, you know, the internet, or however you see fit to listen to music, that you can play it straight through.
Yeah.
You know, it's really not any hiccups.
Let's talk about a few of the songs I've mentioned that I really like. Gone Away. You were
Yes.
telling me the story of the song, how you wrote
Yes.
it. Do you
Yeah.
want to?
So you know, the beginning, I guess, the intro of that song.
It has a freeing feeling.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when I was listening to it. It just freed me, and then all of a sudden it wanted me to come back to myself. When the rhythm changed. So,
Oh yeah,
you
totally.
wanna talk about it.
So the intro of that song, it was its own separate song, you know, and I call that one Triggers at that point, and it's, you know, basically 3-note motif that repeats over and over again, that kind of resembles the idea of, you know, going, you know, when you're grieving, and you kind of come back to your normal everyday routine. Sometimes you get hit with different triggers that takes you back to that, you know, dark place. So, it can just be like for me, like the number 33 always kind of like got me a little bit because my brother was 33 years old. So, like it was like little things like that. And so I tried to highlight that within that intro, as far as you kind of have this whirlwind, and but yet there's a melody on top of that that's moving forward. So, I try to encapsulate that. And so, as far as like the lyric goes, gone away to a place where you never grow old. So it's definitely a tribute to him, to my brother. But it's also, a positive thing. And the lyrics that I wrote throughout the whole record is really uplifting and positive. I try not to let it be, dark or melancholy, things like that. But the song "Gone Away," it's supposed to be like, uplifting, happy, and just hopeful, and but then, I like to kind of shift gears, as you said, and kind of keep the listener engaged, but then also, give the idea of just like, you may be going through, but now it's time to get up and march on. So I kind of want to shift the gear and set the mood and for Godwin to do his thing. And
Nice.
it was definitely a fun composition to play.
Yes, I felt it. Another one is "Carry On."
Oh yeah.
I just like the groove of that
hit.
one.
No, "Carry On" was something like, I'm like, man, I want to write something where like people can be in a car like cruising, and that thing just bumping.
Yeah.
Like that was just like the whole idea.
And it's short too.
Like it's
2
kind of
minutes.
like an interlude, and also hopefully they'll give the vibe like, man, I gotta play it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like just a small taste where you want to listen to it again. So no, I like that song too. "Carry On."
Yeah. The third one, it's Mr. JB. I was telling you of how eclectic it was. I just felt like you had a lot of songs, and then you chose 12 of them. You're like, you know what? I'm not gonna leave these other ones. I'm gonna still put them in the record. So I'm just gonna compress them together in one song.
Yeah.
So-
No, totally.
Because you just like, it's everything.
Yeah.
And then your solo on that song too.
Oh, thank you.
It's
Thank you.
like dope.
Oh man, thank you. But yeah, I mean, it's like, well, this is my debut record, so I definitely want to make a statement, and I want to give the people some content, and with that song, actually, unfortunately, I didn't write the song. I wish I did. But my good friend, one of my best friends, and he's a great tenor saxophonist, Javon Alexander, who we went to Hart together. So I guess it's a little Hart school theme. But he wrote the song for me originally, and the thing was, he just wrote the vamp. And so as I was thinking about the record, and okay, like what songs should I record, and I was like, you know what, I should record like Mr. JB, because he wrote that song for me. And like, let me do it. So then after I arranged it and added some parts to it, but then it's another thing where, I guess he kind of wrote it in as far as like my personality. I wouldn't say I'm like intense, but I'm definitely I consider myself a go-getter. So that's kind of like the vibe of that song. But
Comes across.
yeah. But no, that's another fun one to play.
You are listening to Doing Jazz with Lawrence Chuno. The guest on this episode is drummer and composer Jonathan Barber. His new album, Vision Ahead, is available for purchase, download, and streaming. So, Jonathan, where are you from?
I'm from Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay.
Yep.
When did you I've been to almost everywhere in Connecticut, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a small state.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to
Not
have a relative that lived in Connecticut, and he moved everywhere. He used to live in Hartford, and then he moved to New Haven, and then he moved to, I don't know, like different places. But at a point in time, he lived close to the University of Connecticut, close to stores.
Oh yeah, stores. Yeah,
Yeah.
UConn.
So,
Yeah.
but now they live. He got married, and they live in in Dallas, Texas. So, how did you get into music?
My introduction was my dad.
Okay.
He played the drums, and he still plays from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in church, and he was the drummer of the church, so I always had a front row seat every Sunday watching him. And my aunt, which is my dad's sister, her and her husband had a church, and they started out at a YMCA. So, we had to bring all the gear, to the YMCA every Sunday and set it up. So I was also like his roadie, just setting up the drums and sitting behind him, watching him play, then breaking it down. But then one thing my dad always did was he would always set up the drums in our living room, like as if it was like furniture. So I just always had that visual of the instrument, and I was also hands-on with the instrument.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of like normal for me to kind of like play drums and go in his collection. I wouldn't say it was albums or vinyl, but I guess I was like cassettes. I was like at the tail end of cassettes, and then CDs. I definitely was checking out a lot of music, and he was so open about checking out music and different styles and artists. Like, I've heard other musicians that, I guess grew up in the church. They was only limited to listen to like a certain thing.
Yeah.
But my dad, he would play Weather Report, Yellow Jackets, George Duke,
Nice.
Tower Power, Michael Jackson, as well as, the gospel stuff like the Hawkins, the Winans, Freddie Hammond Commission. So it was definitely like a musical like environment, in the house. And I just remember like every Saturday he would wash his car and blast music, so it was something that it was like practice almost, like just listening to music, and some things like really stuck, and some things I really gravitated towards, and it built a appetite, a large appetite to hear music on a grand level. And so then I had the pleasure and the opportunity of playing in church, myself, and being the drummer. After I got about a teenager, he was like, he handed me the sticks and said, all right, like, it's your time, you go. Like,
Nice.
you serve. And so then I was doing that, which is basically a crash course of just learning so much on the fly. Playing in church is a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's a spiritual thing, and the fact that you are leading people into worship, and kind of fueling them musically, because I think music is a form of healing. It's very uplifting. So to be a part of that is definitely an honor. And then I got into jazz. I'll say it was the summer going into my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And so like the whole time from a kid to high school, playing in church, playing drums, but at that time I didn't know how to read, and I listened to jazz, but not really. And so, make a long story short, my mom was like, "You need a summer job." She was like, "This summer you need to get a job." So I was like, "Okay." So she found something in the paper that was basically a music camp, and you get a stipend.
Wow.
So it was just like, I think it was like almost like $100 a week or something like that. And
That's
being,
awesome.
16, 17, it's like, cool, I'm gonna this summer make some money. So and the thing was, it was crazy how things lined up. So the summer camp was at the Artist Collective, which is in Hartford, Connecticut, and was founded by the late great Jackie McLean,
Okay.
who's from
saxophonist.
yeah, who's from New York.
Okay.
I want to say East Harlem.
Is
And-
your wife also a musician?
A dancer.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's yeah.
His son is a musician, Renee
Okay.
McLean.
Yeah.
So I went there, but by that time he just passed away,
Oh.
like months before. But his son Renee McLean took over, and once I got into that summer camp, it was just like I was, sold. I'm like, man, I've been missing out.
Yeah.
But the love that I had was really instant. And to be in an environment with other young musicians that were, more advanced than I was. But I mean, it was just such a great environment for me just to learn.
Yes.
And I walked into my senior year of high school knowing that I wanted to play jazz, knowing that I wanted to go to the University of Hartford, because Jack McLean founded the Artist Collective, as well as he founded the jazz studies at the Hart School of Music. So,
Nice.
I mean, basically the thing was you went to the Artist Collective and then you went to the Hart School. It was like a hop, skip, and a jump. So I already knew once I got to my senior year, I'm like, man, I'm going to Hart. I'm going to play jazz. I'm going to study this music. And from that, it just opened my mind to like a whole nother dimension as far as like, reading music, writing music, and learning repertoire and improvising, and playing with other musicians and playing with people that's better than you. And I mean, it's just like just learning about the history.
Yes.
Learning about the history of this music and knowing that it's a African American art form, and knowing the history of who I am as an African American. So it was just like a journey.
Yeah. Wow. And it's like your story in how you become the musician that you are now. It sounds like it's tailor-made.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That at the same time, I'm sure it's not that smooth. I'm sure there has been some contemplation along the way. I'm sure you've maybe once asked yourself, do I really want to go to college for music? But right now you are who you are, and all those contemplations, all those questioning help formed who you are. So my question is this: as an artist, I'm sure that in this profession of being a musician, there are a lot of ups and downs. There are a lot of success and failures. Are there any professional failures that have made you question, hey, do I really want to keep doing this?
Well, I think living in New York
always
gives you that notion of, it's like, man, should I really be doing this? Is it really worth it?
I know,
You know what I mean? Like, because we live in a expensive city,
very expensive,
and it's really cutthroat.
Yes.
And it's so many musicians and
good musicians
at that. Yeah. I mean, New York is just like everybody's so talented, and so you're trying to find out what's going to separate you from others, and then being a musician, you're basically your own boss. So dealing with people is trying sometimes, and being in the industry, there's different things to navigate around. So
finding a place to live.
Finding a place to live, and I mean, and then like each month you're like, okay, I made rent, and you got to start all over again to do the same thing. So you're just like, Man,
And I gotta pay those taxes too.
taxes is just like, oh my goodness.
I
Like,
see, yeah.
you trying to just, it's like what is sleep?
Yes.
What is sleep?
Yeah. So, I think from I was looking up something about this like a few days ago. It's like, do you run a jam session?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I run a session bi-weekly at
Okay.
a Smalls Jazz Club in the West Village.
Oh, okay.
And yep, on Mondays.
On
And
Mondays.
that was another um, great platform for me to work out the music with my band. And
Yeah.
also, Smalls is one of the premier jazz clubs in New York City. And for those who are not hip to Smalls, they're really big on live streaming.
Yeah.
So you can go to the show or you can be on your computer live streaming. So it kind of gives access to the world to kind of check you out. And it's interesting because, I travel all over the world, and there's been many times where people come to the show, and after the show they're like, man, I checked you out, on Smalls live stream. And I'm just like, wow, like all the way in Tokyo, Japan, you've checked me out. Wow.
That's great.
So yeah, it's definitely cool to have that opportunity to kind of work out ideas, and then play for a New York audience.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes that's an interesting dynamic within itself. Because New York audience can be with you or not.
Yes.
So to work it out and to build that craft, if you will, with the band and the music is definitely strong. It's like, yes.
Yeah. So for a young cat from Connecticut who wants to move to New York and start this journey, what would you tell the person? What would be the one advice?
Yeah, I'll say, know, figure out what you want to do and know what you want to do in New York.
Okay.
And also be open to do many things.
Like what and what?
So if it's obviously performing, I'm sure that's something that everybody wants to do. But not only just teaching, but within New York there's different scenes. So it might be the hip hop scene or the indie rock scene or the Latin jazz scene or things like that. And don't be closed-minded to the other or to one of them, because it can open up a door. It really can. And if you're open to all of it, then not only would it benefit you financially, but then also your career and your story as a musician.
What do you think of jam sessions? Do you think every musician should keep going to as many jam sessions as they can? Because people have different feelings. Like I have my feelings. I have good feelings about jam sessions. Obviously, I like them. But sometimes I just feel like people go there and it's just solos after solos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, should musicians go to jam sessions? I'll say yes.
Okay.
But just know what it entails.
Yeah.
Like, don't go to a jam session maybe and think you're gonna get signed or something like that. But it's a good way to kind of know who's out there and playing, and also to network, and it might be like somebody you really like, and be like, oh man, let me get your number, and you can build a relationship like that. But then there's people that out there that's like, oh, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna try to prove myself, and it's definitely a hang. And I kind of just think that's just what it is. I think before maybe it was different, but I mean now from what I've seen, being in New York and also running a jam session is definitely a hang, and is there just have a good time. If I think sometimes people look a little foolish when they're just, trying to prove themselves and not really playing with the people around them, the band members. Because at the end of the day, like, you're coming together to create music.
Yeah.
You're not coming there to like shine. It's almost like people are walking into a pickup game and everybody's trying to score 50 points. It's just like, man, that's not how you're gonna win. or you're just gonna look foolish, or you know what I mean? Or everybody's gonna hate each other.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna just go home frustrated.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, just I think that mentality, if people come together with the mindset like, okay, we're gonna create some music. And also just have the ability where, like, when cats show up, it's like, oh man, this person's here, and formulate these just random killing bands.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing. But it's something that everybody should experience, because a lot of times you'll run into some people that can really play and they'll really inspire you, and you'll go home and say, man, I need to practice and I need to do this. So and we all need that, and I think that's really positive.
Yeah. Who was singing on the tracks? Some of them.
It's two amazing vocalists that are, I guess, Connecticut based.
Okay.
One is amazing vocalist named Denise Renee.
Okay.
And other is Sasha Foster, who's actually my cousin.
Oh, nice.
So, I wrote all the lyrics to my record, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's a vocal record, but I definitely want to kind of highlight some melodies with lyrics.
Yeah.
Just kind of some hooks or some catchphrases that people can kind of hold on to, and something that can stick in their heads. And
black folks like that too.
Oh yeah.
If you're like connected to the church and
totally.
So they want something they can sing to.
Exactly. No, totally. And so I was kind of hearing like a choir / like group, but I mean, Sasha and Denise did an amazing job at blending their voices together, creating one sound, not necessarily a singular sound, but a sound that's just like a female voice, a strong female voice sound. And they really brought the lyrics to life. And and I'm really pleased with what they did. I mean, they're two amazing people and amazing vocalists.
Nice. Who are some of your influences, drummers?
Oh wow. Well, my dad, John Barber Jr. Shouts to him. Nice. He was the first.
So you're Jonathan Barber the third?
No, I'm Jonathan.
Oh, you're Jonathan.
Yeah,
okay. He's John. Okay.
Yeah, he's John. Yeah. No, the funny thing is, growing up, they called him Little John.
Okay.
And so, my mom was just like, yeah, I mean, what they gonna call him? Like little John or Baby John or something like that. So they did Jonathan, and that's cool. I'm just like the one and only. But so he's definitely a huge influence and kind of just gave me foundation. But others, I'll say like my teacher, my that I studied with at Hartford School, named Eric McPherson, who is definitely a close friend of mine, and I consider him as my mentor. And I'm really inspired by him musically. But Art Blakey, Tony Williams, Elvin Jones, Max Roach, I mean Will Kennedy. See, even the gospel side, Calvin Rogers. Trying to think some others.
Yeah. How about the modern? I don't want to say modern. Like
like my
Terrence.
peers.
Well, yeah, your peers too. Yeah.
Man,
do you know this guy? His name is Pujibel. Do you know Poogie Bell?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did a
Poogie
record
Bell.
with Poogie Bell.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
serious groove.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's from Pittsburgh. I lived in Pittsburgh.
That's
I'm originally from
right.
Nigeria, and
Okay.
yeah, I moved to the U.S. in 2000. I lived in Pittsburgh till 2014. Then I moved here, and yeah, my first record, which I didn't put out, Poogie Bell played in it, so
Oh my
it tucked
goodness.
out somewhere. I might
Oh
return
man.
to it and
Yeah,
publish it.
you gotta release
Yeah.
a track at least. Man.
Yeah.
Let the people hear it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, but well, Art Blakey's from Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and I want to say, I think Jeff Tain Watts from Pittsburgh. I know he's a huge Steelers fan, so that kind of gives me the idea that he might be from Pittsburgh. But he's another
Roger
guy.
Humphreys. Do you know Roger Humphreys? Yeah,
Roger
he's
Humphreys,
from-
yes,
from
yes.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
amazing drummer.
Yeah. Yeah. Pittsburgh is it has that jazz history, yeah. But the musicians everywhere is different from New York. I'm comparing
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh to New York, but it's just
Right.
you shouldn't do that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. We're going to conclude with a little game I like to call turn up mute. I'll give you two options. You turn one up and we mute the other. Yeah, but the caveat is that it doesn't mean that you don't like the one we mute. It just means that you're feeling the other one. So
Okay.
you turn it up. You're feeling it right now.
Okay.
You could leave here and you'll be feeling the other person or the other option. Okay. Does that make sense?
I think so.
All right.
Let's
So
see
I'm
if
gonna-
I do a good job at this.
No, there's no pass fail, but
Got you.
they are difficult questions. So be ready.
Okay.
Elvin Jones, Tony Williams.
Ooh, oh my goodness.
You gotta pick one. You gotta turn one up.
Okay, Tony Williams.
Tony Williams. Okay. Is there any particular reason?
I just remember the effect that he had on me when I was checking out the Miles Davis quintet.
Okay.
With Tony, Ron, Miles, and Wayne, Herbie. I mean, that band is definitely one of my favorite bands.
Okay.
Man, I'm just like a huge Miles fan.
Nice.
You know, and just I love how they just explored music and how they improvise and basically just how Tony would flip things. You know, I feel like he kind of took things forward a little bit. He definitely, you heard the influences from Max Roach, you heard the influence from Philly Joe and Art Blakey, but then you would hear these inverted things or inversions, if you will. And I just love what he stood for. You know what I mean? Like, in his later years, he basically created a genre, if you will, like jazz rock and the stuff, the Lifetime band. And I mean, as a drummer, he just took so much, I don't want to say chances, but just like bold statements, like playing jazz with like a 24-inch bass drum, which has been done, years ago, with big band drummers like, Chick Webb and Sonny Greer and things like that. But, then we got into a day and age where just like, smaller drum sets and stuff like that. But he was like, he just flipped the script. So yeah, he to me, he was a very profound person.
Yeah.
And I just always, I don't know, it's something I can relate.
Yes, yeah.
I felt that way with
I see
him.
that. Good. All right. Harlem, Hartford.
Holland or Hartford?
Yeah.
Hartford. Come
But
on,
you
man.
live in Harlem now.
You said Harlem? Oh, I think you said-
Harlem or Hartford.
well, no, all right. I'm still picking Hartford.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's my city. Can't forsake
you
I can't forsake the city.
What is it about Hartford? Because you seem to have this love for Hartford. I mean,
Yeah, well,
that's, that's where
it's-
you're from, but there are a lot of people who come from somewhere and they don't care about that
Oh
place
yeah,
anymore.
sure. No, I have love for my city, man. Shout outs to Hartford, Connecticut. It's really very small.
Yeah.
Number one, but there's a lot of talent out there. You know, a lot of great musicians and great artists.
Yeah.
And it's something that I learned a lot. And I think one thing that's special about Hartford is the fact that we're in the middle between New York and Boston.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you can go to Boston or go to New York and get inspired and come back to the cave and work things out. And, you know, sometimes when you're, you know, in New York, you can get overwhelmed a lot. And again, like living in Harlem for a few years, sometimes I get overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, I need to go back home to Hartford and kind of like, you know, get away from the chaos.
How far is it from New York City?
2 hours.
2 hours, okay.
Yep. So it's
Do
not that
you
far.
see yourself in the future living in Hartford and maybe taking gigs all over?
If I did that, maybe when I'm like 50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not anytime soon. Right now, New York has my heart.
Yeah, okay.
Harlem has my heart. I'm gonna be here for a while.
For a while, I see. Okay. All right. You ready for this one?
All right, I think so.
Airport, Time Will Tell. These are two songs.
Ooh. Oh man. Oh. All right. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say all right. Airport because I'm singing on it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Airport because I'm singing on it. Time Will Tell is good, and shout outs to Denise and Saj for singing on it.
Okay.
But no, actually, Time Will Tell. I'm singing on that one too.
Okay.
I just thought about it. Wait a
The
minute.
Airport is it's like your single, right?
That's a single, yeah. So right now we're gonna push a single out.
Okay.
Everybody get the single right now.
See, I made it easy for you.
Yeah.
I gave you a way out. Jonathan Barber, this has been so much fun.
Man, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, I hope we can do it again.
I'm down.
Great. Later.